Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight, it was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. Whoa, what's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports, Sunday morning, December 14th. Thanks to everybody who hung out for the NFL show last night. I gave out 3 plays. If you want to see my analysis, you can go there or check out my Instagram. I'll reiterate what those plays are at the end here, and we'll do a final market read, walkthrough, whatever, like I usually do. If you've been with me on Sunday, you know the drill. And I'm going to give out a couple additional plays here. We're going to have one on, I have to put them into the system, so we're going to have one on one hockey play and one NBA play today. I'm skipping college basketball today, even though I know it was really good yesterday, but I just don't see any real angle there. And I'm hoping to turn this thing around in NBA, man, because NBA hasn't been good over the last few weeks, even though it's usually my best sport, so I'm not happy about that. Yesterday, that's the way that it was yesterday, so maybe I'm recency biased, but we went 5-1 in college basketball yesterday. I mean, all the underdogs hit, and none of them won outright, although, of course, all of them were huge dogs except for one of them. Penn State came pretty close, man, in that first game that we had yesterday. They were in that game. They were winning the game, I think, late in the game, and then they were down. They were within 2 points late in the game, too, and I think they only lost by like 4, or maybe they lost by 2. I don't know. That was a close one for Penn State, man. So they absolutely covered. They had the shot to win the game outright, which is why I tell you, at least put a little something on the money line, even with a huge dog like that. Maybe like 1%, just have a little bit of something on there. 1% of the entire bet, I mean. So it's, if your bet is 1% of your bankroll, then it's 1% of 1%, Just to have that little something. George Washington, they looked like they weren't going to get there. They were losing by margin, I think, at halftime in the game against Florida, but they came back and they only lost by 10, so I'll take that. Southern Miss was kind of in their game against Ole Miss. Ole Miss never really got margin. I think Southern Miss came to within 6-7 points in that game, maybe, so that was a cover as well. Mercer, that line went up to 23.5, but it didn't really wind up mattering because they covered anyway. They were winning the game, I think, maybe even at halftime. They were actually winning the game. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but they were in that thing. It was wire-to-wire cover, man, for Mercer. Although they wound up losing, I think they probably lost by double digits, but they still covered. So we got that one right. Illinois was the loser. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. It was not a good game for Illinois, man. They lost outright. I'm actually kind of shocked by that because Nebraska was like a public underdog in that one, as I had predicted. So what can you do about it, man? It's one of those plays. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. The market read was right on that one, I thought, but it was just, it was bad. That one did not work. And then we did get West Virginia, although they should have won the game outright. West Virginia was winning by 5-7 points outright late in that game. And for a team that slows it down and plays defense like West Virginia, you got to just finish that thing off, man. And instead, the game actually, I think, went double overtime. And that's not what you want with a 4-point underdog, man. If you're that close in regulation and then it goes into overtime, you do not want that because your underdog might get tired out and then you might lose by margin. So I was worried. But I believe they lost by 2. So they covered, or by 1 maybe. They covered, but they had multiple chances to win that game. Probably should have. The hockey game was an easy winner with Winnipeg, so that was a nice one. 5-1, I think, was the final there. They had a 4-0 lead in the game, so that was easy. And OKC, I don't know what happened to OKC, man. I should have just stayed off of it because, as I even said on the show, like, both teams are going to be motivated. I just thought that after the long layoff for Wemby, I thought that it wouldn't go that well for San Antonio. And OKC was out of the gate with a double-digit lead, like, in the first quarter, man. Like, they were up 11 at the end of the first quarter. So I was like, all right, it's looking like they're just going to run away with this thing. And then San Antonio, I believe, opened the second quarter with like a 16-0 run or something like that, or 16-4, is that whatever it was. San Antonio had one huge run, and then they were in the game the rest of the way. The game was close the entire rest of the way, and actually they won the game outright. So yeah, I'm not happy about that. We needed OKC to get back and have a run of their own, and they didn't do it. Zach, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Mr. Pinsey, what's up? Jeffrey, what's up? Penn State, yeah, they had a forceful crowd there. Yeah, it was at Penn State's campus. So what did Oregon do? Oregon had not covered, I don't think, on the season. Did they actually cover yesterday? They must have. I don't know. Well, yeah, Oregon. Yeah, I mean, I think I gave out a couple losers on Oregon this season. They were like 0-9 against the spread to start the season or something like that. So maybe they finally covered. All right. Let's get into today, man. We have college basketball. Nothing really caught my interest when I was going through this thing. Like, we have some games noontime, afternoon. First thing that caught my eye is, well, Iowa State's playing here, right? So I'm thinking, well, is Iowa State going to be in any sort of like hangover? Because they did just have their big rivalry game against Iowa. But that was a win for us on the show with Iowa covering. But you could see it going both ways, really, and that's the problem, because Iowa State was a huge favorite in that game, too, and they almost lost. So, like, is it going to be a hangover because that was a big game, or is it going to be they're going to bounce back because they didn't play well as a favorite? But then I'm just like, I don't really care because they're playing Eastern Illinois, and it's just such a mismatch that I'm just like, I'm just not going to do anything with this. Iowa State's a 44-point favorite. I mean, they don't really have any incentive to really cover that number, so it is a huge number. But Eastern Illinois is really bad. Some of the other big conference teams are playing some little guys. Not a whole lot going on here. 2 p.m. Missouri is playing Bethune-Cookman. Missouri, you could argue, does have a look ahead here, because after this, it's off to the races, man. They play Illinois, Florida, and Illinois, and then they start SEC play, basically, after that. So this is their last remaining game, really, where they just probably don't care that much against Bethune-Cookman. Missouri has been really good at home, though. They're 8-0 at home. Bethune-Cookman, the very least you could say is they're not going to be intimidated. Like, they started out the season with that game against Auburn, where I think they took them to overtime. That was a really good performance from them. They had a pretty good performance at Dayton as well. But they've also gotten smoked by Miami and Indiana, so it's not all good for them. They'll try to get up for the game nonetheless. Like, I think Bethune-Cookman is probably the way I would lean in that game, plus all the points if I was going to take it, but I'm not going to do it. Missouri's a 19-point favorite in that one, up from 17.5, so just putting some of the information out there, but any of the games that I had any real thought on at all, I don't know. I don't think I had too much of a thought on most of the rest of these, except Iowa is playing on Big Ten Network at 3 p.m., and I'm thinking, you know the way that I do things. Like, this is a spot where I definitely would want to fade Iowa, because Iowa just took Iowa State to the limit, man. It was a monster game for them. They went on the road. They covered. They almost won outright. Huge rivalry game, and they were a double-digit underdog. We got it right on the show because Iowa State was coming off that massacre of Purdue that was a huge win for them, like a ridiculous win. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at Western Michigan here, right? We're going to be getting them as a big underdog. Iowa doesn't play well as a big favorite because they play really, really slow, so you don't really want to lay points with Iowa. So that's another indicator to look towards Western Michigan. The problem is Western Michigan is pulling off a pretty big upset of their own. They went to SIU Edwardsville, and they pulled it off, man. They were a substantial underdog in this game. I don't know exactly what the line was. I would guess it was probably about 8 or so. So Western Michigan's coming off a really nice win as well, and it was an outlier as well. If you look at what happened in this game, they shot 60% from three-point range and 57% from the field. I mean, come on, man. Like, you're not going to see that happen again. That's not going to happen against Iowa, okay? But they will try to step it up because this is one of their big games of the season. They probably won't be intimidated because they did already have to play on the road at Ohio State. But then again, it didn't go well. They lost horribly in that game. So I'm a little bit all over the place in that one. I would lean towards Western Michigan plus the points, but it's not on my card or anything. You're getting 28 points, though, with a total of 144. So asking Iowa to cover a 28-point spread is a lot, man, when they play so slow and they just might not really care that much about this game. So, yeah, I mean, if I was going to play it, I would take the points. We have Florida Gulf Coast at New Mexico. Now, New Mexico is coming off going to VCU and pulling off an upset there. That was a big win for New Mexico. And then they start conference play after this, although unfortunately it's not against one of the bigger teams in the conference. It's against San Jose State, but it is still a conference game. So this is kind of a sandwich spot here. And they'd beaten Santa Clara before they beat VCU too. So New Mexico, of 2 pretty big wins. My problem is, how is Florida Gulf Coast going to adapt to playing in New Mexico in the pit? Like, they have not played in an environment like this year, having to go into high elevation. The furthest west they've gone, I think, is Illinois. So, and they got smoked in that game, but Illinois is better than New Mexico. But I don't know, I just don't think I can quite do it, man. Although Gulf Coast is off of a kind of ugly loss to FAU, where I don't even know which team was favored in this game. Gulf Coast probably was favored, but I bet it was probably a small favorite. Yeah, it looks like that was probably about what it was. I would lean to Florida Gulf Coast in that one, but I can't really get there with that one either. So they're 17.5-point favorites, or 17.5-point dogs to New Mexico. They're up from 15. So we'll figure it out, man. We'll see. You lost 77. You're gonna win 177. Should I don't know. Play my plays, man. I'm trying to get wins here. At least yesterday was a really good day, 6-2 on the show here yesterday. So I don't try to mess around, man. Like, I just give out exactly what I would play, nothing more, nothing less. You know what I mean? This is just it. All straight bets, no gay bets. Charlotte at Charleston. Now, Charleston is coming off a pretty close call against South Florida, man. South Florida was a pretty big favorite in that game, so that was a big performance from Charleston. Now they're coming off of that. I think it's a little bit of a hangover spot coming off of that game, man. Charlotte, one of the lesser teams in the Carolinas. You got to figure they probably get up for a game against Charleston. They're coming off a pretty big game themselves, though, against Utah State, although they did not play well. They got blown out. So I think this is a better spot for Charlotte here. That's the way I would lean in that game. Mostly it would be a fade of Charleston off their South Florida game. That line is only 5. Pretty low total of 141.5 too. So I would take the points with Charlotte if I was going to play it. And, again, a lot of this is just, I am, what am I trying to say? A lot of this is just, I'm trying to, give you insight into, how I think about these games, Kent State is at Portland. Kind of a weird spot for Kent State, man. And actually, this is their first true road game of the season, this late into the season. And they have to go to the Pacific Coast. It's a very weird spot for Kent State. Kent State is a good team. They're going to be one of the best teams in the MAC. They're definitely going to be in the running to win the MAC. But this is just a very odd spot. Portland has been pretty good at home at 6-2, although some of those games are against non-D1 teams, or at least one of them was. 2 of them, actually. So they're coming off an easy-ish win over some Lewis and Clark, I think, a non-Division I team, staying at home. The problem with that is that Portland in 3 days has one of their biggest games of the season. They got to play the University of Oregon in 3 days, and that is always a big deal for Portland because that's the biggest brother in the state of Oregon. So that is a little brother, big brother matchup there. So possible they overlook Kent State, although Kent State is good, so they probably won't overlook them. So I would probably lean towards taking the points with Portland in that one, but not going to get there with that one either, just because I am worried about the look ahead there. I like the NFL, yeah. Cleveland, Chicago is probably my strongest play on the entire NFL board, so do with that what you will, but you're getting the hook on the 7. I mean, I'll talk about it at the end of the show, but I think Cleveland is my favorite play. I mean, I identified that spot like weeks ago. I was looking to play the Browns in this spot, and the way that it worked out, it did work out the way that I wanted it to make that play. Wake Forest is playing against my man, Queens. The only college basketball head coach who follows me on Twitter is the coach of Queens, because I liked his Thanksgiving ugly sweater. Maybe he's already unfollowed me. I don't know. He seems like a cool dude, though, and I already forget his name. I apologize. But they're playing Wake. I think I would probably lean towards taking the points with Queens in this one. I mean, you know me, like defaulting to all these underdogs, but Wake is coming off a pretty nice win over West Virginia. That was a bigger game. They got Longwood, and then they start, they play Vanderbilt, and then they start ACC play after that. So they got bigger games on deck. This is a flat spot, I think, in their schedule. Queens has been really bad on the road, though, 0-4. Wake is 5-1 at home. Wake also played... They played Michigan really tight as well, which I forget if that was a home game or not. I think that was actually a semi-road game, but maybe I'm wrong. I would have to look, but not going to play this game anyway. Queens is coming off a couple of easy wins against Gardner-Webb and South Carolina State. Not good teams. South Carolina State, by the way, that was bullshit in the Cricket Celebration Bowl yesterday, if you saw any of that. Prairie View A&M had a 21-0 lead in that game, and they were winning 35-21 in the fourth quarter, and it went into overtime, and they lost. Even though they dominated South Carolina State in the game, they had 140 more yards in the game than South Carolina State, and they were only -1 in turnovers, so the game made absolutely no sense. It was a single turnover in the game. There's no way that Prairie View should have lost that game, man, so I'm kind of angry about that just because I have to pick all the bowl games in the bowl pick'ems, so I lost a pick on it, so I'm not happy about it because I thought I had the right side, and should have, and I was going against the public with it, so the idiots got that one right, and I didn't, you know. And we're getting line value in ESPN's spread pick'em. The spread had already locked at like South Carolina State -1.5. And when the game went off, Prairie View A&M was like a 2.5-point favorite. So you had the right side of the line as well by being on Prairie View. And overtime was just disgusting, dude. I cannot believe that they lost in, I think it was triple overtime or maybe 4 overtimes. And whatever it was, the teams didn't even score after the first overtime. Like, both teams scored a field goal. So even though it was a high-scoring game, 35-35 going into overtime, both teams, I think, scored a field goal in the first overtime. And then neither team scored again until it got to the 2-point conversion section of overtime. And Prairie View A&M completely threw it away, and they failed on the 2-point conversion attempt. And South Carolina State got it, and that was the end of the game. It's just such bullshit, dude. Covering that bad number by a half point, too. So I'm pissed about it. But anyway, back to this. Yeah, Queens, I think it does set up better for them. I think they will show up for a game against Wake Forest. I mean, Wake Forest is a bigger brother in the state of North Carolina, too, because Queens, they are not in Queens, New York. They're in Queens, North Carolina. They're Queens, NC. So... yeah, big brother, little brother situation there for Queens. So I would take the points with Queens. Wake is up to a 17-point favorite there. I do worry because Wake does kind of play fast, so it is a high total in the 160s there. By the way, I did not see if that total went over in the Arizona game last night because I thought it would be very high scoring. I don't know. I never saw what the final was. Then we have North Texas and South Alabama. North Texas, they're coming off a pretty close game against TCU, man. They lost by 10, but they were within like 6-7 points with a few minutes left in that game. So they had a huge game against in-state big brother TCU, and now they're coming off of that, and they got to go on the road to face South Alabama. North Texas did not do well on the road the last couple of times. Well, they lost badly to St. Mary's. And then, of course, the other game they should have won, though, at Oregon State, and they lost because they called a timeout with no timeouts left and lost on technical free throws. Really, really ridiculous there. But yeah, North Texas, I think they're in a bad spot here, having to go to South Alabama after that close call against TCU. South Alabama does have a good record, though, and 2-0 at home. Doesn't really matter that much. But South Alabama is also coming off a real ugly loss at East Tennessee. East Tennessee is good this year, and they were a big favorite in that game. So South Alabama is not as good as their record looks. They played a pretty weak schedule so far, which is what worries me about this game. Like, they're not as good as their record indicates. But they are coming off a blowout loss, so I do think they are the right side here. And I do think North Texas probably will be getting the public action here. South Alabama is up from 1.5 to 2.5 here. 67% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on North Texas. So it looks like maybe the money is kind of on the North Texas side for now, but it's South Alabama or pass for me in that one. But again, I worry that they're a really overrated team. Ken Baum literally has South Alabama number 1 in his luck index, meaning that they've been the most overperformant team in all of college basketball so far. So I don't like that. So it's a stay away. Then probably the biggest game of the day is at 6 p.m. St. Mary's and Boise, although this is not at Boise. It's in Idaho Falls, so it is a semi-home game, I guess, for Boise State. Still maybe kind of a weird spot for St. Mary's to have to go up to Idaho, although these teams in the West Coast Conference, they're used to playing in the Western U.S., but for St. Mary's, they did also have to just travel to the East Coast, and they beat Davidson. Now they're coming back up here. I don't know, man. I mean, I would worry a little bit about St. Mary's on the basically on the road like this, semi-road. Boise, easier game for them because they're staying at home, and they had that pretty easy win over Duquesne in their last game, although Duquesne is pretty good. That actually looked like a sandwich spot because Boise had just beaten Butler on the road as a big underdog, and they still showed up and beat Duquesne anyway. And then they had St. Mary's coming up after this, so that does tell you something that Boise was able to win by margin in a bad spot. So kind of lean to Boise in this one. They're getting 83% of the tickets, 99% of the cash. They're only 2.5-point dogs, although points are going to be at a premium in a game like this where both of those teams play really, really slow. So an under also probably makes sense, although the total has already dropped to 135 from 138. But that is a game that is going to be at a slow pace. And then we do have Washington State and USC is the latest game at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I don't really have much of a thought on this. It's an old Pac-12 matchup that no longer is one. Washington State's coming up losing to Nevada at home. Washington State's really not that good, though, man. I mean, I know former Pac-12 team, they were in the tournament a couple of years ago. They're really just not very good right now. The USC is definitely the better team. Nevada was a big favorite against them, and they lost that game. USC, though, is coming off some bigger games, I think. Actually, no, USC had their kind of flat spot in their last game at San Diego, and they still won by 13. Don't know if that was a cover or not. It probably wasn't, but that was kind of their flat spot. So I kind of think they bounced back or play better in this game back at home. So I don't really want to do anything with this game. Positive spot kind of for both teams. Looks like the money is on the USC side. 83% of the tickets, 97% of the cash. Sitting at a 14.5-point favorite. Not a whole lot else to say there, though. All right, hockey, we do have one play. We'll just do it, whatever. It's the first game, so here it is, the best bets. I think it is a night game, though, right? Everything is a night game. Oh, no, it is afternoon. It's 12:30 p.m. We are going to take the Vancouver Canucks again, even though I'm pissed at them because we lost in their last game going with the Vancouver Canucks. But I think it sets up to play them again here because they've been off since that game on Thursday. It was a pretty ugly loss to Buffalo, who's not very good. Now they're starting a road trip with 2 days off, so I like all of that. Like when a team starts a road trip, that's usually a positive spot because you want to get the road trip off on the right foot. They're going to be focused against a pretty good New Jersey team, you would have to imagine. Leaving home is also a good thing because you just get it out of the way. You know, the one concern maybe is that, this is going to be an early start time for a West Coast team. So yeah, they're starting at 9:30 a.m. their time. But again, like I say, there's a reason why dudes who work out most of the times they're going to do it early in the morning, right? It's because that's when you have your energy. You get up, You got your energy. You do it. You know what I mean? So I think those early start times are overstated. Like, I think the late start times on the West Coast for the East Coast teams are much worse. So I'm okay with it. Again, I think that break is going to disrupt their losing momentum. Leaving home is good because you just focus on hockey. You don't have to worry about what everybody's saying about you, in the local media and whatever, because Vancouver is a hockey town. And they're probably pretty mad about how bad the team is this year. But also, that game against Buffalo, Vancouver dominated this game, which is why I'm so pissed. They should have won this game. Vancouver did have the 2-1 lead late in the game. Then wound up losing with on a late goal in the third period. But look at the stats in this game, man. Vancouver, 32-15 in shots. They had more than double Buffalo's shots, 22-13 in hits, and they had almost 60% of faceoffs won and fewer penalty minutes. So how the fuck did they lose this game? Just almost like luck of the draw, basically. Just not even really bad goaltending because the final was 3-2. It's just, I think we got really unlucky on that one. So Vancouver was at least better, much better in that game than what it looked like. But also, we're going to fade New Jersey in this one. I mean, New Jersey, they've definitely been struggling without Hughes. That's for sure. They haven't been as good. They're coming off a win yesterday against Anaheim, so they're on a back-to-back. Although I know they're staying at home. But you got to think Vancouver probably already did their travel. Like, I'm assuming they're already out there, so they're probably already adjusted to the time zone. Big win for New Jersey against a pretty good Anaheim team. Now they have Vancouver on a back-to-back, or I just think they're going to overlook them, man. Although New Jersey's probably going to use Markstrom in net, but he's really not that bad. Both of their goalies are, like, pretty even, I would say. But New Jersey up next, they got Vegas, man. They start a road trip on Wednesday, and they have to go to Vegas. That is a bigger game. Vegas, not only is Vegas a better team, but Vegas just beat New Jersey 3-0 in New Jersey. So I do think that is a look-ahead spot there. So this is basically a sandwich. We will take Vancouver. The line already dropped from -150 to -128 on New Jersey. So it is a very cheap price on New Jersey. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that New Jersey's on the back-to-back. Although you got to think, why would it have opened at a higher price, though? Because you knew they were going to be on a back-to-back. So I don't know. But on the other hand, the price just looks way too cheap, right? Like, no public bettor is going to be coming in on Vancouver here. New Jersey does have 65% of tickets, 90% of the cash right now, but I don't care. I'm going based on the spot. We get Vancouver as the dog in that one. That is my one hockey play of the day. Yeah, Canucks in the matinee. That is what we're going with there. All right, the other hockey games here, we have Utah at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is on a back-to-back, and they had a brutal game yesterday, which somebody was alluding to this in the chat last night. I hadn't seen what happened in this game. One of our, I forget if it was Saab, somebody was in the chat last night, said they had Pittsburgh to win in regulation in that game. Pittsburgh was winning that game against San Jose last night, 5-1 in the third period, and they lost in overtime. I mean, that is insane. Like, I would be probably like ready to jump off a bridge if I had been on that side of the game. I mean, how does Pittsburgh lose when they're up 5-1 in the third period? It makes no sense. That's what happened. Now they're coming off of that with no time to recollect themselves, and they do have to play Edmonton after this, so possible they kind of just don't have it in this one, man. Although San Jose is a bad team, though, so that is a pretty disgusting loss. It's an ugly loss. So I don't know, man. Pittsburgh, the thing is, though, they will have, who was the goalie? Pittsburgh just got Skinner, right? So he's probably going to play in this game. But then the problem is Skinner gets to face his former team Tuesday. So I think it's a look ahead for that reason, too, because Pittsburgh-Edmonton, that was the goalie swap, and the goalie swap game is next. So I think they might look ahead to it, man. So I think Skinner might be in net in this game, though. I'm assuming, because it's a back-to-back, and Jari was the one who got traded for him, and Silovs played last night. So I'm assuming it will be Skinner making his debut for Pittsburgh. I'm not going to touch this game, but I would probably lean towards Utah if I was going to play it. For Utah just got a win to break a loss streak, and now they're starting a road trip, so that is a focus spot. Utah, not a big win. It was a win over Seattle. Seattle's really not that good. So I think that'll just give Utah a bit of momentum coming into this road trip to start the road trip. So I like Utah in that game. Also pretty telling, though, that Utah is a road favorite against Pittsburgh, even though Utah has the worst record. The odds makers are telling you Utah's the better team, although the money looks like it's coming in on Pittsburgh, but I don't really agree. Utah down from minus 136 to minus 127. 62% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Pittsburgh. But also, if Skinner is starting, I mean, he does have to get used to being, in a new environment and whatever, so who knows how he's going to react to it. Although, of course, when you're a goalie, I mean, it's all pretty similar, right? Like, your job is the same no matter what. So, but, playing in a different city, whatever, maybe it'll be a little bit weird, who knows. But that's a stay away. Philadelphia and Carolina, I think, is actually kind of a zigzag spot in favor of Carolina, even though Carolina won at Philadelphia yesterday. So these teams are on a back-to-back, traveling from Philly back to Carolina, but Carolina did not do well in the game yesterday. They almost lost to Philadelphia, but on the other hand, Philadelphia, that's a brutal loss for them because they almost beat Carolina, and now after that close call, they have to turn around and face Carolina again, and Carolina, I think, realizes they kind of escaped in that game, and they might just play better this time. Although I know it's one of those weird single-game homestands for them where they have to go back out on the road after this. But they're only returning from a road trip that they were on starting on Thursday. So not really a huge road trip return spot. Yesterday was kind of an iffy spot for Carolina, too, because they had that huge win at Washington 2 days prior. And now, yes, it does mean they're on a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. Philadelphia is also playing a third game in 4 days today, although 2 of them, I think, were at home for them. But I think Carolina is probably the right side in this one. They're up from minus 230 to minus 240. I mean, if you're going to play it, it has to be like a money line play probably. Or you could maybe do something like Philadelphia under their team total. Might make sense in a game like that because Carolina does usually like to focus on playing more defensively. Boston, my Bruins are at Minnesota. The Bruins have more rest coming into this one than Minnesota does. Bruins are on a nice 4-game win streak, although they are coming off 2 pretty big wins, I guess, winning by 3 goals at least against St. Louis and Winnipeg, although both those teams are not very good right now, so there is that. Swayman will be back in net for the Bruins here. Korpisalo played the last game, although the Bruins have won Korpisalo's last 2 games, so I don't know. But Swayman is definitely the better of the goalies, so it will be him this time, assuming he's not hurt or whatever. Bruins haven't played, for a couple days. They haven't played since the 11th, I think. So the Bruins are definitely more rested here. Minnesota played yesterday. So Minnesota's playing a third game in 4 days. And they're coming off beating Dallas and Ottawa. And they have to play Washington next. And as I pointed out, that's a big game. That was part of my handicap yesterday in fading Washington, was that I thought Washington was going to be looking ahead because this is the Hughes battle, not Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes, by the way, still out for New Jersey. So, just pointing that out as well because, I mean, that's been the case for a while. But, and we're playing against New Jersey today. But, yeah, for Minnesota versus Washington, Quinn Hughes, I think is his name. He was the big trade element there. And these 2 teams were fighting over him, and Minnesota got him. So I think this will be a bigger game for Washington to show up and be like, well, we don't need him. We're going to beat you anyway. But I still think it is maybe a look-ahead spot for Minnesota here because that is going to be the Quinn Hughes battle, man. So we'll see. He might be in the lineup tonight for Minnesota against Boston. I don't know. But Minnesota played yesterday. I assume he wasn't there yesterday. They won against Ottawa, so sorry, Saab. Saab lost the game in Ottawa yesterday, I think. I picked right out of all the hockey games yesterday. My favorite was Winnipeg yesterday. It's the only one I went with, and we got that one right, so I'm glad about that at least. Overall, yes, I lean to the Bruins in this game. More rest. I think the spot's a little bit better for them. The money seems to agree. Minnesota's down from minus 148 to minus 135. 56% of tickets on them, 66% of the cash on the Bruins. I don't love it, though, so it's a stay away again for me. Edmonton is at Montreal. Edmonton's starting to play better again here. They actually used their new goalie last night. Jari was in net for them last night, so it will be Pickard tonight in net for them against Montreal. So they're on the back-to-back, Edmonton is. They're playing a third game in 4 days. all in different cities, so it's not exactly the easiest spot. Coming off beating Detroit and Toronto, each by 3 goals. They're going to be focused on Montreal, though. I mean, Montreal, they're playing fairly well this year, and you're going to focus on Montreal, especially if you're another Canadian team. Montreal is, original 6. They're considered to be one of the OGs, but Montreal is also on a back-to-back. They're also playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. They just lost in Madison Square Garden in overtime last night. So the Rangers actually won a game at home, and I actually said that I leaned that way yesterday. So Montreal coming off a tough game that went into overtime. And their travel spot is actually worse than Edmonton's here, I think, because they're coming back up from New York. Edmonton's coming in from Toronto. I actually don't know which one of those is less travel. I actually don't know. It's fairly similar, I guess. But Montreal's technically returning home from a road trip, although they were only on the road Thursday, Saturday, so it was only a quick trip. I think they will be focused still on Edmonton here, so what do we do with this game? I mean, overall, I do think Edmonton is the way that I would lean here. They're up from minus 120 to minus 125. The money seems to agree, even though they're public. 70% of the tickets, 86% of the cash on them now, so just trying to look at the money here. The money still doesn't agree with this Vancouver play, by the way, but whatever. But yeah, I probably lean to Edmonton, in that game, but not a strong opinion. And then we have Buffalo and Seattle, and you want to see what the odds makers think of Seattle. They're so bad that Buffalo is a road favorite against Seattle, so that's what the odds makers think of Seattle. Even though they have a winning record, if you don't count the overtime losses, and Buffalo has a losing record. Buffalo is coming into this game off of that win over Vancouver, which was a misleading win, like I pointed out. They might come more focused in this game against Seattle. They're finishing a road trip here. They have had 2 days off, so they should be a little bit less tired than maybe they would be otherwise to finish a road trip because they have had extra days off here. 2 days off, I think. Seattle has only had 1 day off, and they're traveling back from Utah. So I think the spot is actually worse for Seattle, and they do play Colorado next at home. So, yeah, I think the spot is better for Buffalo, so I don't disagree with Buffalo in this one. And the money seems to agree. 91% of the tickets are on Buffalo. They're up from minus 115 to minus 116. 57% of tickets on Seattle. 91% of the cash on Buffalo. All right, NBA, and then I'll do the final NFL market read here. I do have one NBA play, and we have some games in the NBA today. Washington at Indiana. My read on this is that probably the move is to fade Washington. Washington's coming off a close call against the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. Washington, I thought they were going to get just boat raced in that game. I thought Cleveland was going to show up, but I was wrong. Washington had chances to win that game, man. They were winning that game by a decent margin in the fourth quarter. And, of course, they blew it because they're Washington. But that's a difficult game for them to come off of, man. I know they're starting a road trip, and usually when you start a road trip, you're focused. But I just don't really see it here, man. It's a bad Indiana team as well. They got San Antonio next, who's obviously playing better. So I think Indiana is the way to look in this game, although you're going to have to actually lay a lot of points with them. Indiana, they're coming off a pretty difficult game as well, though. They had some chances at Philadelphia. That was a pretty big game for them, and they lost. And they do have the Knicks next, so I do worry about this maybe being a little bit of a look ahead, so I'm not going to get there with this one and lay the points. But if I was going to do it, that is what I would do. And hilariously, the Wizards are a public side here. 91% of the tickets, only 79% of the cash. The Wizards are a public underdog. I think the public is basically like, there's no way I'm going to lay 10 points with a team like the Pacers who are whatever they are, 6-15 or whatever. The public's not going to do that, but that is what I would do in this game. They're up from 9.5 to 10. There's a reason why they're favored by that much, man. The Pacers are not really as bad as their start would lead you to believe. Of course, they're still without Halliburton, but they are pretty healthy otherwise now. And the Wizards really, really suck. And they're in a bad spot. So I think Indiana is the way to lean in that one. Charlotte is at Cleveland. These teams are actually in similar spots, which is interesting. Charlotte, no, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking of the other side of this, the Chicago game. My mistake. I'll talk about the Chicago game in a minute. Charlotte is coming off losing close to Chicago, so that was tough game for Charlotte. I mean, a step-up game for them. This is going to be another one, though, so I don't think they're really going to be unfocused or anything going to face Cleveland, but I do think you're going to get focus out of Cleveland here because they didn't play well in their last game against Washington. Maybe you could consider Golden State to have been a tough game, I guess. They had a lot of rest, but I guess they just came into Washington cold, just didn't focus on it. Now, they do have Chicago up next, but Chicago's been playing pretty bad, so I kind of expect a more focused effort out of Cleveland here in this one, so I probably would lay it with Cleveland if I was going to play this. Up from 10.5 to 11. Cleveland, a pretty big favorite here, but not, I mean, I actually think it's kind of a reasonable number. I actually think Cleveland is better than their record looks right now. They've had some injuries and guys in and out of the lineup. 96% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Cavs. Although the Cavs, by the way, after last season, their coach explicitly said, we focused too hard on the regular season last year, and then we got injured in the playoffs. We need to not focus as hard on the regular season, make the playoffs, and then focus. So that is seemingly what Cleveland is trying to do now. Sixers are at the Hawks, Philly at Atlanta. This is one where we lost on Philadelphia against Atlanta not that long ago in a game that Philly had chances to win the game, and they lost in double overtime. They're probably going to remember that. They're coming off kind of a questionable performance against Indiana, although they did get the win by double digits. Now they're starting a road trip. They play the Knicks next, but it's not for 5 days, so I do expect Philly to be focused in this one against the Hawks. The Hawks coming into this game off of a really ugly loss, though. They lost 142 to 115 to Detroit. I know Detroit's good, but no team wants to lose by a margin like that, so I think the Hawks are going to show up focused as well here. So in that case, I think it does actually come down to which team is the better team. That is the Hawks. They're down from 5 to 4.5, 69% of tickets, 76% of the cash on the Hawks. So the money is indicating on the Hawks. I'm not really going to disagree with it. You have to see who's in and out of the lineup for Philly, as always. Embiid, game time decision. He played in the last game. Don't know if he's going to play or not. Oubre is still out. And then Maxey did not play in the last game. So if he comes back, then that makes me like Atlanta a little bit more, actually, if Maxey does come back, because after he misses a game, he's their point guard, and he, has to get back into it again, you know what I mean? It's the guy who runs the offense after he's been out. Now he comes back. It's going to be kind of a chemistry shift again, so if that's the case, I also kind of lean to the Hawks. Next game up is my actual play, and we are fading the market read in this one, and I just don't care. We're going to take the Brooklyn Nets +2 against the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know what's going on in the market here. You're really telling me 88% of the tickets are on the Nets? You're telling me the public is on the Nets? There's absolutely no way. There's no way that the public is on the Brooklyn Nets. We know how the public operates. Even if the Bucks aren't playing well right now, although they did just beat the Celtics, which of course is going to be a huge piece of this handicap. Even if the Bucks are playing bad, the public is still not going to be on the Nets. If they look at this game, they would fade the Nets. You know what I mean? They're going to fade these absolute bottom dwellers. And I'm going to find spots where maybe I'm going to play them, and this is one of them. 88% of the tickets on the Nets. I don't buy that number. 52% of the cash on the Bucks. Not sure I buy it. We're looking at 1.5, 2 here for the number. Getting Brooklyn as an underdog here. It also looks way too easy, right? Again, what public bettor is going to look at this? Oh, it's basically a pick the winner price. Oh, I'm going to take Brooklyn, who's 6-18, and they're 2-10 at home. No, they're not going to do that. But Milwaukee, by the way, 11-15, and they're 3-8 on the road. So Milwaukee's not good on the road. They've lost 6 games in a row on the road, as it says right here. So Milwaukee has not been doing well on the road. They're not doing well without Giannis. He's not back. And if he was coming back, I would probably still fade Milwaukee, and we'd be getting more value on Brooklyn. It would be a reverse injured player spot, but we don't have to worry about that in this one. Giannis is not back. Milwaukee, that was a big win for them, man. I mean, I think Milwaukee realizes they're not going anywhere now, but they just beat the Boston Celtics, dude, and they came back in that game. The Celtics were beating them by double digits, but remember when I said, because I gave the Bucks out as a play on the show, we played the Bucks, they got the outright win by 15 points. They were losing the game at halftime, but I said the Celtics take their foot off the gas, man. That's just, I don't know why they do it, but they always do it. They get complacent, they take their foot off the gas, and they let teams get back into the game. And not only did they do that, but they lost to Milwaukee. Like, Milwaukee had completely swung the game by the time it was the fourth quarter. Huge win for Milwaukee, though. I mean, the Celtics are still the Celtics. They're pretty good. And Milwaukee played Detroit and Philadelphia in the prior games as well. 3 games in a row, they played Detroit, Philadelphia, Detroit. Now they get this Brooklyn game. I think it's an absolute flat spot here. It's a single-game road trip, which is also weird. And up next, they got Toronto, and then they got Minnesota. And those are both bigger games, too. So I think it's an absolute flat spot. As far as Brooklyn is concerned, they're coming back home, but it's only from a single game on the road at Dallas. I thought they were going to cover against Dallas, and they only missed by like a half point. They played all right in the game, but prior to that, they had a ton of rest. So we're not really looking at a tired Brooklyn team or anything like that. It was only a single game on the road. Now they're back at home. I think they'll show up with the Bucks coming to town, man. I mean, when you're a team like Brooklyn, it's too early to, like, these teams are not tanking mid-season, you know what I mean? That you're still trying to figure things out and trying to win some games here. So we're going to be on the Brooklyn Nets. That's the only NBA play I have here. Yeah, the New Jersey Nets, correct. I don't know, they just wanted to be like a New York team, you know what I mean? So they moved in there. Devils still haven't done that because the Devils won't do it because the Islanders are there, basically. The Nets are basically the Islanders of the NBA. We have Sacramento at Minnesota. Minnesota's coming off a pretty nice win over Golden State, man. Minnesota finally got another win against a winning team, although Golden State, after that loss, is no longer a winning team. So, hilarious, I guess. But a big win. Golden State, I said that I thought Minnesota would win that game because it was a reverse injured player spot for Golden State with Curry coming back after a decently long absence. So, I didn't like Golden State in that one, even though Golden State was looking for playoff revenge. Didn't matter. Minnesota got the win. Pretty big win for them, and now they face the Sacramento team, which I assume they're still without Sabonis. Now, I don't think Minnesota's really going to show up for this one, but they did lose at Sacramento in overtime last time they played them, so maybe there is some element of maybe they will show up here. As far as the Kings are concerned, yeah, Sabonis looks like he's coming back soon, but he's not going to be playing in this game, so they're still without their best player. For Sacramento, they'll be focused, I assume. They're playing against a Minnesota team. It's a pretty good team. Sacramento, they're going to get up for games like this. I think they're coming off playing Denver, but it was not a close game at all. Losing by 31, and now they're starting another road trip. Usually, again, you are focused to start a road trip, especially if you're leaving home after a pretty ugly loss. So I would lean towards taking the points with the Kings in this game. You're getting 12.5, up from 11.5. So that is, I don't know. That's the way that I look at that one. Curry made a shot from the tunnel. Are you sure you're not just talking about that video that's been out there for over a year? There's a video of him doing it that's probably from last year or maybe even earlier than that. I don't know. I've seen that video. And I don't even know if it's real, actually. It might be AI. I don't know. But that video's been around for a while. All right, what's the next game? New Orleans at Chicago. Oh, my God. New Orleans at Chicago. This is the game that I was talking about that's a similar situational spot for both teams because both teams just broke a long loss streak with a win. New Orleans just smacked Portland by 23, but I don't think that's going to make them overconfident. I mean, how can you be overconfident when you're 4-22? But I think that's good for New Orleans because that breaks a long losing streak. I think they will be focused on a game here against Chicago. I think they'll be focused on basically anybody at this point. I guess potentially they'd be looking ahead to Houston, but I just don't really think so. I think they will show up here. Now, Chicago did also break a long loss streak. Chicago had been above 500 all season pretty much, and then they lost a bunch of games in a row, including, by the way, losing at New Orleans, though. So this might be a little bit of a quick revenge spot for Chicago because they lost at New Orleans as part of that losing streak. This is a very ugly losing streak for Chicago, man. I mean, they didn't play very good teams in that loss streak for the most part. So Chicago's been falling apart, but They did just win at Charlotte to break the loss streak, and Charlotte was one of the teams they actually lost to during the road trip, so that's good. That should break their losing momentum. Yes, they're playing New Orleans, who also did beat them during that loss streak and during that same road trip. But Chicago plays Cleveland twice next, and then Atlanta twice, then Philly, then Milwaukee, then Minnesota. So they have all bigger games up next. So I do worry about like a look-ahead component for the Bulls here. I think Pelicans plus the points is probably the lean in this one. 95% of the tickets, 90% of the cash on the Bulls. They're down from 6 to 5. So, yeah, I would lean towards the Pelicans in that one. Yeah, I don't know if it was fake. He can probably make that shot, but it's at least old, though. Yeah, like I remember seeing that, like, last year. And I'm not sure if it was from last year or before that. Lakers are at Phoenix. Now, I think the Lakers are going to show up for this because the Lakers, I believe, they got knocked out of the NBA Cup by Phoenix, I'm pretty sure, right? And it was at home. Actually, maybe this wasn't the Cup. I don't know. But the last time they played Phoenix, they lost ugly, man. Which Luka played in that game too. So, and I don't know if LeBron did, but Luka is the more important player right now than LeBron. Okay, LeBron's just too old. But the Lakers they had an ugly loss at home to Phoenix, man, 125 to 108. So I think they're going to remember that, and they're probably going to bring it in this one. Oh, excuse me. The Lakers got knocked out of the Cup, here by San Antonio. That's right. So the Lakers did get eliminated from the Cup, but I don't think they really care about that because they're trying to win the championship here. Like I said, there are certain teams that are just going to want the Cup more. And I thought the Thunder, once they got to the semifinals, I thought they would just try to finish it off, but I was kind of wrong about that. Thunder had a really bad shooting game last night, though, so there was that. They were never able. I thought they were going to redeem themselves in the second half, and they didn't do it. I thought like a money line play when they were losing that game. I thought money line on OKC was probably a good move in that one. You're getting them as like a smaller favorite, and that still didn't happen. Good thing I'm not a live bettor, really. I'm a dead bettor. But yes, LA, I think they will show up because Phoenix beat them pretty badly in LA, you know what I mean? So I do think they're going to focus on this game. It's the start of a road trip for them. They've had some days off after getting knocked out of the Cup, which I just don't think they care that much about that game, you know? I think it's a bounce-back spot for them. So I think the Lakers are the right side here. Phoenix also just got knocked out of the Cup in the quarterfinals, I think, by OKC. So, yeah, both of these teams got knocked out in the same round. LA and Phoenix did. Phoenix did get blown out, but they're actually technically returning from a road trip here. And you know, I talk about this. When a team returns home from a road trip, which, by the way, Phoenix started with that win over LA, a lot of times they won't be focused and they'll have to get back to family life. You know, they'll have stuff to do. Yes, they have extra days off, but sometimes that makes you more settled in at home. The problem I have with this is that it's the Lakers, so I don't really think Phoenix is going to overlook the Lakers, you know what I mean? Like, I usually like the return home distraction angle. I still lean to the Lakers here, but it's not going to make my card because I do think Phoenix might still show up because it is the LA Lakers. The market read is all over the Suns here. Lakers are down from 3.5 to 1 here. 72% of tickets on them, 76% of the cash on the Suns. So the money is coming in on the Phoenix side. I don't agree with it, though. It would be Lakers or pass for me in that game. So it's kind of an interesting one. I don't know. I have no idea who that guy was last night. You guys can go after him if you want. His DMs are closed on Twitter, though. X-Comer or whatever his name is. Yeah, he's X-Comer on Twitter and X-Comer0 on YouTube or whatever. He has no content. Who even knows who that? He's a complete loser. No one knows who that guy is. His Twitter looked like it had no activity for years, and he almost looks like a bot on Twitter, so I don't know. But his DMs are closed. Stacks, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out again. All right, and then we do have the final NBA game here is the Warriors at the Blazers. Golden State at Portland. Golden State sitting at 500 again. Now, this is going to be their second game with Curry back, man. So I talk about this when the first game that your star player comes back, a lot of times you won't really coalesce and have the chemistry again, but in the second game back, usually you got that game out of the way, and now you're going to play better. You know what I mean? And Curry did play well in the game. He had 39 points. It was just that I think they didn't really play particularly well as a team. I think they'll put in a better effort this time. So I don't mind Golden State in this game. However, that was a big loss to Minnesota. Like I said, Golden State had that game circled because Minnesota eliminated them from the playoffs last year. And that's the first time they played Minnesota this year. So I worry about this being maybe a hangover spot here. Although they're starting a road trip, usually that's a focus spot. Second game, injured player is back. That's usually a better spot as well. For Portland, they're returning home from a long road trip, so that is a bad spot for that reason. They've been on the road since Tuesday, December 2nd. That's crazy, dude. They had a really bad road trip, but I think teams, they don't just bounce back right away from road trips, man. That's just the thing. Like, a lot of times they get distracted when they return home from a road trip. They got stuff to do at home. Yeah, they've had a couple of days off. Yeah, they're coming off a real ugly loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. Almost an inexcusable loss. Although I think I did lean to the Pelicans in that game. I mean, the question is, are they going to overlook Golden State? I don't think so. I mean, they have Sacramento next. That's not a bigger game. 2 in a row against Sacramento. I mean, Golden State is Steph Curry, so you got to think they will show up. Although, for Golden State, by the way, Portland won at Golden State on November 21st, so maybe Golden State kind of remembers that, and they're going to change some things up, you know what I mean? Because that was a pretty ugly loss for Golden State to lose at home to Portland, so there's a lot going on in this game, which is why I'm not playing it. The market read is saying to take the points with the Trailblazers. 92% of tickets, 80% of the cash on the Warriors, up from 4.5 to 5. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to lay the points with Golden State on the road like this. But I think there are more positives for the Warriors here, man. I mean, I find it hard to not lean to the Warriors in this one, especially with the Blazers returning from a road trip. Bad teams returning home from road trips are usually it's a little bit worse for them, and like a lot of times you do want to play against them when they're an underdog. I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to buck that market read and lean towards the Warriors, but I don't have a strong opinion on it. All right. Brunch, bagels and lox, hell no. No, we got none of that. No. My family is American, man. We're not Jewish. Both of my parents are different versions of Christianity. My mom's Italian. She grew up Catholic, but then she switched over to a Protestant congregational, which is what my father's side is. They're Swedish, so that's what we are. But no, it was meat and eggs, baby. It was a classic brunch. It was just me with my mom though. Like I mean, there were a bunch of people. My family's all around for the holidays and whatever. So there were a bunch of people there at home. But yeah, brunch was just me with my mom though, hanging out at my parents' house. All right. Yeah, I'm a mama's boy. Oh, man. But that makes me sound more Jewish, actually, if that's the case. All right, that's going to do it, man. And we'll look at the final market read here, I guess, for the yeah, let's do that first, and then I'll give out my plays one more time. The market read looks like it's still against some of my plays, man. It's slightly indicating on the Texans right now, but, of course, I have a play on the Cardinals, so obviously I'm sticking with the Cardinals plus the points there. Market looks like it does agree with the Raiders, so I do agree with that. Market is still not agreeing with me on the Jets. I like the Jets plus the points, but, I mean, the Jags are public. The line value is there for the Jets, so that's the way I'm going to continue to lean. Market read is still slightly indicating against the Browns play that I have, but I still like it, obviously. So, and again, you're looking at percentages that are really close. Like when you see a team that's around 80% of the tickets and the cash is just slightly more on them in the NFL, I think you still kind of want to fade them. I mean, it's not that much of a disparity, you know what I mean? And there's still the public side. We'll see what these lines look like in 3 hours, because I think I'm going to wind up being right on most of these, It looks like late money is coming in on the Bills, which is one of my other plays, so I like that. If you like the Bills, you got to get in on that one, man. Like, do not let that thing hit 3. Because I had said that I think the appropriate line in that game, in my opinion, was Bills -3. So it's at 2 now. I gave it out at 1 last night. It's 1, 1.5, 2. Make sure you lay less than 3 if you like the Bills, man. or play it on money line or something like that. The money is not indicating on the Ravens really yet, although it's still kind of only a slight disparity there. I like the Ravens, as I already pointed out. I think they're an anti-public road favorite there. Market indicators do look like they're on the Chiefs as an anti-public play, hilariously. So I do still lean to the Chiefs. Money is somewhat indicating on the Giants here a little bit, but again, don't be fooled by this move, the favorite flip, because that had to do with the quarterback situation because Daniels is hurt again. So I still lean to Washington in that game plus the points. And the Giants, I mean, that's not much of a cash disparity there. I also still lean to the Colts plus the points. I mean, obviously there's no line value laying 2 touchdowns with the Seahawks, man. So, yeah, that's my read on that one. The market is indicating on the Packers, which I still agree with there. And then let's see. Market is still agreeing with taking the points with the Saints. I agree with that. The market is really indicating on the Rams still, so I might have to change my opinion on that one because that was one of my weakest opinions. I kind of lean to the Lions, but the market is really strongly indicating on the Rams, though, man. I mean, that is a significant disparity. 53% of tickets, 72% of the cash, so I might have to change that one. I still lean to the Titans plus the points against the 49ers. 49ers are just extremely public in that one. And I still do like the Cowboys in the night game, though. I mean, that's a situation where, again, I think there's line value. Again, don't be fooled by that line move because the 7.5 was the look ahead. I think, yeah, even though the Cowboys will be public, I'm going against myself on what I said on this one, like the cash disparity on this one. This one might change more because it's the night game as well. Even though, yes, I think the public are going to be on the Cowboys, but I think it's public professional agreement on the Cowboys in that game, man. I would only play the Cowboys in that one. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens with tomorrow's game on Monday night, although, as you know, I lean somewhat to the Dolphins in that game, but we'll see. I worry about Tua in freezing temperatures, by the way. Oh, and by the way, it is snowing here in New England, so you get a snow game in Bills-Patriots. But I think that's actually better for Josh Allen. I mean, Buffalo, there's no more of a snow team than Buffalo. I mean, come on, man. They're not going to be intimidated by snow. They literally played in snow last week, like I said, and I think Drake May might be more affected negatively by it because he played at North Carolina. Like, he's not as used to playing in the snow, man. So, yeah, definitely like the Bills in that one. All right. And then that's going to do it for that. Let's go with my plays one more time here before I get out of here. The plays today are Arizona plus 10 in NFL, or you might be able to get 10.5. 10.5 is better than 10, so try to get the hook. Cleveland plus 7.5 with the Bears in the Packer cheese sandwich, baby. It is a cheese sandwich. I don't want to say it's a grilled cheese, but maybe. I mean, those are tasty. It's a pretty tasty sandwich. So we got Cleveland plus a 7.5. And we got Buffalo. I gave it out at -1 last night. So sometimes it does pay to watch my show because I get some of these numbers out there before they move. I would still lay the 2 with Buffalo, too, though. I mean, there's not much of a difference between 1 and 2, so hopefully you can still get there with it. Hopefully they win by a field goal, and everybody is happy with that one, or more than a field goal. And then hockey, Vancouver Canucks money line, NBA, Brooklyn plus the points. Those are the plays today. Let's have a good Sunday, everybody. The Giants podcast today, I have no idea. We're probably doing something. The problem is, like, I'm right up to, like, I'm doing, like, betting stuff and picks, like, literally right up to the moment of game time. So it's almost like I would have to, like, jump in after he starts the show and jump in onto the stream when the game starts, you know? So I don't know how we're going to do it. We still have to figure it out. I think it will happen, though. And it's either going to be live stream, calling of the game, live watch party, or a post show. I don't know what we're going to do. Post-game show, I mean. Yeah, I don't really agree with that. I mean, I don't know. I am not a Catholic. I mean, I grew up Protestant, because my mom had switched to that. I don't know, the Catholicism thing. I mean, the Catholic Church is just completely subverted at this point and overtaken. So I'm a man of the small town churches, you know what I mean, where it's more actually about like legit Christianity. So that's where I stand on that. That's going to do it. Mr. Pinsey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Hopefully we get some wins today. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me on Twitter now, so there is that. Jeffrey is a subscriber. Thank you, sir. So I'm going to get some subscriber content out on Twitter soon. It probably will be some uke content, so if people want uke content, some of it is going to be behind the subscriber paywall there, I suppose. Although I'll probably eventually get it up on YouTube as well, but if you want it on your feed on Twitter and early, it'll be a lot of it will be behind the subscriber paywall, I think. So yeah, and then Covered in Uke is the Uke channel on YouTube, so you can check that out. Like, subscribe to the show here, of course, and comment here. Review and listen on audio, Spotify and iTunes. That helps me out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. You can sign up for the Patreon as well, and you get a Uke Spotify feed and requests. Uke requests. Losercast, the comedy podcast that just started. We're already seemingly increasing it to 2 days a week, although the way that it stands right now with the scheduling, I might only be on the Tuesday ones. So I don't know. This is Adam Nutter's fault, so blame him. The fact, he just can't do the 10 p.m. Tuesday spot. Like, all right, like, what are you, man? What are you, listening to your wife? Like, what's going on, Adam? Or your girlfriend, whoever? Come on, Adam. You guys can, make fun of Adam for that. Go ahead. It's okay with me. So yeah, Losercast, you can check that out. And then, as Jeffrey mentioned, the G Spot, the Giants podcast, will be starting. It'll either be a live watch party of the great Redskins-Giants game, which I do not have much of a stock in today. As you can see, I will have to pick the game because I pick every game on ESPN. But other than that, I will have no stock in that game other than watching it, and that I slightly root for the Giants because I like Jackson Dart. So, and I like Winston too. We'll see what happens with that. It'll either be a live watch party or we're going to do like a post-game podcast. We'll see what happens. That's going to do it. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm thinking about like starting to do bracketology episodes because I love March Madness. I'm just obsessed with brackets. It's always been, as you can tell from Tower Game, where I kept wanting to do brackets, and only one of them was really that good. But I might start doing it, man, and just talk bracketology. I do my own bracketology. Like, I've been posting it in, like, a spreadsheet. I've been doing it for a while. Like, I should get, like, a website or something for it, but I've been doing that. So the graphics aren't good. The visuals aren't good. It's just a spreadsheet because it changes so much that I can't just make a graphic for it every time, you know. I'm not Joe Lunardi where I have ESPN's graphic team behind me. So it is what it is, but my bracketology predictions are usually as good as theirs are. So him and Jerry Palm. That's going to do it for now, but I will be back at some point. If I start doing bracketology shows, it'll probably actually be on like Sunday nights because that's kind of the lull. Like, I don't know when the rankings get updated for basketball. I think it's Monday morning maybe, but like Saturday's a huge day, right? So after Saturday, it makes sense to make your bracketology adjustments, you know? And we're getting into that time of the year, so maybe I'll start doing it after the holidays. We'll figure it out. That's going to do it for now, though. But if you subscribe to the channel, you'll see when I go live next. Hopefully, if the notifications are working. That's going to do it. And yes, I've transitioned to doing the college basketball Saturday shows on Friday night because it worked out well this week. I mean, it's just such a huge slate. I think it did me well to just only focus on college basketball on Friday night, get it done, do the show. We had a good day yesterday in it, so let's keep it going. We have huge swings in college basketball, though, man, because it's such high volume. So, like, after last season, I was down, like, probably 30 units or something. I was probably down across the last, like, few years in college basketball just because of earlier this year. Like, specifically March was unbelievably bad, but we've had such an upswing this season in college basketball already that I'm already, like, back to being up 40 units over that entire span in college basketball. So hopefully I can continue it, man. It's going to do it for now. Peace, guys. Thanks.